Have you started planning for 2022 yet? If you haven't, you probably should. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Graylan Stewart. I am a virtual wholesaler, entrepreneur, and real estate investor. So if you're new to my channel, welcome and thanks for joining me. Hopefully you find value in this video and you'll like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. But today's video, I'm going to talk about planning for 2022. If you haven't done it yet, it's time. It's actually past time, but it's not too late. So start planning now. So what does that really mean? Obviously, when you are an entrepreneur of any kind, maybe you're brand new to wholesaling, maybe you're an experienced wholesaler, whatever your situation, it's important to plan, okay? So start planning out how your 2022 is going to look. So you might ask how you do that. You know, I'm not here with all the answers necessarily, but I do know it's important. So obviously you want to start with a goal. And that goal could be the number of deals that you do potentially for the year, or maybe in a month, or it could be certain dollar amount per deal that you are trying to accomplish. Maybe you're already doing 1 or 2 deals a month right now, and let's just say your average is $10,000 per deal. So maybe 2022 you want to up that average to maybe $12,000 per deal rather than 10. Because if you factor that out and you do 10 deals in a year and you up it by $2,000 a deal, you just made an extra $20,000 with very little extra effort, okay? So I'm all about maximizing the potential of every deal so that you can make more money on them. Therefore, you can do less deals for more money. So how do you do that? How do you increase your deal size? There's a couple of ways, okay? So first off, the more you do things, the better you get, right? That's just common sense. It's repetition, right? I've done a video on that. So the more you actually talk to sellers, the better your skills are going to be in negotiating, okay? So starting out, you might not be great at negotiating or in sales, okay? So let's just say there's a $100,000 ARV, seller's willing to sell it for 65, and you agree to that 65. But if you had a little bit of negotiating skills and you end up getting the deal for 60, that's an extra $5,000 right there that you made potentially on the deal. But then it really comes to dispositions, okay? How much can you sell that deal for? If you're advertising the contract for $70,000 and you got it for $60,000, that's a $10,000 spread. So maybe you should market the property for 75 if there's room on the spread. And then obviously every buyer wants a better deal, so they're going to probably try to negotiate you down. Hold your ground if you've got a lot of activity, but if not, sometimes you got to do what you got to do and just sell it for what you can. But at the same time, it's all negotiating and sales skills on trying to get that bigger spread. So maybe that's one of your goals. Maybe you want to increase your spread on your deals. But maybe you're brand new to wholesale and you've never even done a deal, okay? So what do you do in that instance? So you got to start planning, okay? You got to plan, okay, to do a deal, I know I need to start with a list. How am I going to get a list? Do you have money? If you have money, maybe you buy a list from PropStream or from ListSource or from Atom Data or any of these other providers out there. So maybe you buy a list, okay, if you've got money, and then you skip trace it and start marketing to it. But let's say you don't have any money at all, so what do? You go driving for dollars, that's free. Or there's apps out there. There's a driving for dollars app. There's Deal Machine app. There's different apps out there. Or you can use your computer on Zillow or something like that to where you can do virtual driving for dollars. If you know a specific area and you don't necessarily want to get in your car and take notes all day, do it virtually. You know, it's easy to do that. Just virtually drive for dollars, looking at neighborhoods. You have to know the best zip codes and things like that. But you can figure that out. If you're from the area and you know where some distressed properties are, potentially you could just do that virtually, drive for dollars. Nevertheless, you could drive for dollars for free. It costs you nothing, maybe a little bit of gas, maybe a little time and effort, sure. Nothing is 100% free, right? So do some driving for dollars. Or if you don't have money, Maybe you are just reaching out to people that you know on Facebook. Let's say you've got 1,000 friends or 500 friends on Facebook, and you just do a simple post. Hey, I'm looking into flipping houses. Anyone selling, a house that might need some work? Something along those lines. You could post that, and it goes to all your friends. You'd be surprised what responses you might get. Friends and family might say, "Hey, that's really cool. I've got a buddy down the road that's trying to sell his house and it needs a lot of work. Here's his phone number." So that's just an example. Or anytime you're out at a restaurant or out at Walmart, out at anywhere you go, talk about what you do, even if you don't do it yet. Talk about it with confidence that, hey, yeah, I flip houses, looking for some properties that need some work. Do you got anything? And you know anyone? I'll pay you a referral fee if you give me a lead, and I end up closing on it. So I do that all the time. Somebody might give me a lead. Obviously, we're not going to pay them if we're not able to buy it. But if we are able to buy it at closing, I'm going to pay them $500 referral fee or $1,000, depending on how big the deal is. So that's one way you could do it for free. But let's just say, as far as goal setting goes and planning, you've got the list now. Okay, you've got a bunch of homeowners or sellers, motivated sellers, hopefully, to start calling on. Now you got to figure out what kind of marketing strategy. Obviously, picking up your phone and making a phone call is free because you're already paying for a phone, right? But if you have money, maybe you send RVMs, maybe you send text blasts to that list, maybe you do direct mail to that list. Those are some of the things you could do to try to get people to call you back. But actively pursuing someone is cold calling, right? You're reaching out to them, calling them, hopefully, trying to get some interest. That's why it's important to kind of have a pretty big list. If you do driving for dollars and you only have 100 on your list, I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to work. Sure, you might get a deal on that over time, but it's a numbers game. You got to have a ton of people to call on potentially, and able to be able to actually reach someone, okay, and to hopefully get a deal. So planning is important. What are you going to do? What does getting a deal look like for you? You got to have a list. You got to skip trace that list, and you can get phone numbers for free. Sometimes you can just Google that property address. First, when you get the address, you can look on the county assessor to find who the homeowner is. Okay. Then once you get the homeowner, you simply you could Google that homeowner's information online. Sometimes you'll get lucky and get the phone number that way. But if not, you can subscribe to things like whitepages.com, benverified.com. They're super cheap to subscribe to. Or there are other free ones like freepeoplesearch.com, or there's a bunch that are kind of similar to that one. I think there's a truepeoplesearch.com as well. Those are 100% free, and a lot of times you can get those phone numbers that way. So you got the list, you skip traced it, now you're making phone calls, okay? So once you're making phone calls, you need a script of some sort. Obviously, we don't want to sound robotic because people are going to hang up on you. But you have a script as a guide. It's just reminding you of things to say and to ask for. I have a free script on my website. Go to graylanstewart.com and you can download a free script 100%. Doesn't cost you a thing. But that's just a guide. And that's the script that we always use. That it just kind of gives you a guideline on what to ask. You definitely don't want to just sound robotic, like I said. But get familiar with that. Memorize that script so that you know what questions to ask. And then sometimes when you're asking questions, you just got to stop and listen, and they're going to tell you a lot of stuff. And then you just kind of fill in the blanks as they're speaking to you. So that's how you work that list, that script rather. So once you start making calls, the more you make, the better you're going to get. And hopefully you'll end up getting a deal. But you have to know how to find the ARV, right? I've done several videos on how to get ARV and what your max offer may be. What's the best way to get an MAO, max allowable offer? I've done videos on that as well, so search for that. But once you have an ARV, you know where you need to be price-wise based on the repairs that they told you. Then it's time to negotiate, trying to get a deal, okay? So anyway, so we're talking about planning for 2022, right? So maybe your goal is to get better sales skills. Okay, the best way to do that is repetition on calling people. The more people you call, the more conversations you have, the better your sales skills will end up flowing. And it takes practice. Anything you do takes practice. But there's also books out there you can read. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss is a really good book. It's good for negotiating. There's other things out there that you could read. Just kind of search on sales books and things like that. But there's a bunch of ways you can hone your skills in to become better. As far as planning goes, what else are you planning? Are you trying to set a certain revenue goal? If you're trying to set a revenue goal for the year, obviously that would be taking your deals that you've done. Obviously, you have to have done deals to really figure this out correctly. But let's just say your average deal size is $10,000, and you want to make $100,000 in a year, right? So divide that out. That means you got to get 10 deals. So that's less than one deal a month. But if you strive for that one deal a month, you're going to potentially reach that goal of 10 deals at the end of the year, right? Maybe you're scaling up, trying to do even better than that, maybe 5 deals. So what did it take you previously to get those 5 deals? How many leads did it take to turn into interested sellers? How many of those interested sellers did it take for you to actually make offers? How many of those offers did you have to make to actually get a deal? How many of those contracts did you get signed that actually made it to the closing table? So if you go down that list and reverse engineer that, rewind this and watch it again if you need that again. But if you reverse engineer that, you can figure out, how many actual leads it takes you to get a deal. So if you want to get 5 deals in a month, you just multiply that number you got originally by 5, and that's how many leads it's going to take you to potentially get 5 deals, right? So this whole game is really simple. Obviously, it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it is simple if you just keep it simple and just really think about it and stay consistent. That's the most important thing. Consistency is key to everything that we do. You want to stay consistent in getting your lists. Stay consistent in calling sellers all day, every day, and following up. Stay consistent in getting marketing out there so you always have lead flow. Stay consistent in making offers so that you can have consistent deals, so you can get consistent paychecks. You see what I'm saying about here? Consistency is key in everything that we do. So taking action every single day to help you get to your goals is the only way you're going to get there. So that's why I think it's important to start planning for 2022 now, so that you set yourself up for success. Don't just wing it and hope for the best, because really that's not going to get you where you want to be. Start planning now so that you can actually detail it out. Make an outline of what your goals are, on whether you're trying to get your first deal, or you're trying to scale up to maybe 10 in a year or 10 in a month, or it's a revenue goal for the year, a revenue goal for the month, or it's a revenue goal per deal, whatever the case is. Or maybe you're already doing deals and you're kind of fumbling through and you don't really have a system. Maybe you're ready for a system. So start making goals on how you're going to plan that out to actually get a system to start making things a little easier. And maybe your goal is to build out processes or SOPs, standard operating procedures, for people that you might hire in the future. Because you have to have all that in place before you hire people, really, if you want to do it successfully. And then maybe your goal is to finally hire a cold caller. I definitely don't recommend doing that until you've cold called a ton of people yourself, so you actually know what you're doing, know what you're talking about, and know how to train someone. But once maybe you're to that point, once you get there, it's important to start hiring. So maybe that's your goal. Whatever it is, guys, the point is plan it out, make notes, write it on paper, hold yourself accountable to that, and then make it happen. Then it's just a matter of implementing everything that you wrote down and try to get your dreams and your goals, met. And that's the only way you're going to do it, is planning. So hopefully this was beneficial to you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.